Hello, welcome. Today it's all fun and games on the business interview on France 24. We're talking to the man who heads up one of the world's oldest and most successful toy companies. It started out in the 1930s in a carpenter's workshop in Denmark. Now it's a global brand with 10,000 employees based around the world. You probably have some of their famous coloured plastic bricks at home. If you still don't know who I'm talking about, well, it's Lego. Joining us now from Billund in Denmark, welcome to the business interview, Lego CEO Jørgen Vig Knudstorp.
Thank you.
Your latest results are just out, and I'm sure you're very pleased with an operating profit rise of 41% for the first half of 2012. Now, a lot of that is being put down to the controversial Lego Friends set. These are your first products specifically designed for girls. Profitable for you, but plenty of campaigners say you're promoting inequality. What do you say?
Well, I think this whole controversy maybe started when we were on the front page of Bloomberg Business Week showing one figurine from the Lego Friends series, but it was actually a couple of months before the product actually hit the shelves and we had started our marketing campaign. So we entered a dialogue with those who were skeptical of the line, and once they saw the product and how we were intending to campaign it, a lot of that criticism has been silenced. And we really appreciate that because we've taken great effort to exactly not stereotype how girls think and play. In fact, we worked with more than 3,500 girls over 4 years to make a product that they found really contemporary, cool and appealing. So I think that has now died away. I think we also learned something from it because over the years we have primarily been for boys, and we developed themes such as pirates and Star Wars and so on, which are obviously very cool to boys. And so we sort of reflected on that and said, what is the equivalent of that to girls? And we actually saw that maybe we had become too boys focused in our marketing campaigns. And so we're actually learning from that and adjusting our campaigns somewhat for the rest of the Lego assortment. But for Lego Friends, I think the sales success we're seeing is really confirming that what we're doing is not seen as patronizing. Instead, it's seen as highly relevant.
Yeah, because I know that one of your personal maxims is to listen to the complainers. Like you say, it does sound like you have listened to the complainers and to the little girls themselves there. So going forward, would you see yourselves becoming more gender specific in your targeting or perhaps more neutral in your toys? People might say that's a more forward-thinking step.
Yes, and I think you're right, and there will probably be a bit of both. I think we will see that when we do a theme that maybe is a bit more boys appealing, we will predominantly market it to boys and vice versa for girls, but you will also see us be much more gender neutral. There is a very strong female character in Pirates of the Caribbean and in Star Wars and in Lego City and in Ninjago, so you will see us be more gender neutral, I think, or for both genders going forward.
Okay, well, you are, of course, a European company. You're speaking to us today from your headquarters in Denmark. And overall, you seem to be bucking the trend in this current European crisis that we're seeing. But there is a marked difference in your sales figures that you've just released. Sales were up around the world, but by 10% in Europe compared to 23% or so in the United States. How is this impacting your strategy?
Well, I think our sales development pretty much mirrors what the world economy is looking like, even though, of course, we're growing much more than the economy itself. But we are seeing incredibly strong growth in Asia, and I hope we'll continue to see that over the next 20 years as the new middle class emerges in Asia. Also, I think we can continue to grow in the Americas because historically that has been a market, both North and South America, where we have been slightly under-penetrated. On the other hand, in Europe, we're a clear market leader in everything from Moscow to Paris. And I think we will therefore see a slower growth rate because we're well penetrated, but also because some of the difficulties that are impacting the European economy.
And being based in Denmark, you are, of course, outside of the euro currency zone. Is that proving to be an advantage at all as the eurozone goes through these difficulties?
Yeah, no, I think, I think something very important about the euro crisis is that it really requires that you take a very differentiated view on Europe. It's not evident that all the European economies are actually suffering from the euro crisis. And I think probably if there were to be a North European euro, which Denmark would peg its currency to, I think we would see that German-dominated North European euro to have a strong appreciation rather than depreciation. So I think the truth of the matter is that Germany and Denmark is hugely benefiting in terms of currency at the moment from the euro crisis, and that makes it easier for us to be an exporting company with great success. And it means also that should there be a change in the euro structure, it may not actually be to our advantage in those terms. Germany also benefiting is a very strong market for us. On the other hand, we're suffering in Spain, and if Spain somehow left a kind of euro collaboration, that currency would depreciate and we would lose anyway. So I think there are pluses and minuses for a Danish company from the euro crisis.
Well, as you say, you are in a very strong position for a European company, and we have just said that Eurozone unemployment has hit a record level of more than 18 million people. Now, I understand that Lego is creating 1,000 new jobs. Are you doing your bit for Europe? Are they in Europe?
Well, there are a lot of jobs in Europe. We have 3 major manufacturing facilities within the EU, and all of them are expanding very strongly. Also here in Denmark, we have hired more than 200 new people, and just over the past 3-4 years, we've added more than 1,000 new staff here in Denmark. So it's a European growth, but of course, we're also hiring staff in China, and such places in Asia, and as well in the North America. So it's actually truly a global growth in keeping with the growth rates we're seeing, and then reflecting that our home base, where we do most of the work, is still Europe.
Now, I understand that you're opening up, or expanding rather, your production facility in Mexico, which is one of your major projects at the moment. People are worried about production, manufacturing jobs leaving Europe. This could be seen as Lego turning its back a little bit on Europe.
Yeah, I can see why it could be interpreted that, but it's actually a misunderstanding. We're expanding jobs quite dramatically within the EU, both in Denmark, but primarily in the Czech Republic and Hungary. And actually, for purposes of serving the European market, there's absolutely no point for us to manufacture in Mexico. So that manufacturing base services the North American market and the South American market, really in order to be able to respond very quickly to demand when things take off, like Lego France, where we've seen a growth of more than double to our expectations. And then the European factories are serving the European market, everything from Russia to the UK and Southern Europe. So I don't see our business model threatening European jobs in general. I do see a worry for jobs in high-paid countries, if we can call that high-cost countries, such as Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, and we have moved some manufacturing out of these countries, and we're working very hard to build an adaptiveness in the workforce here, that even a high-paid workforce as the Danish one can remain globally competitive.
Well, bringing things back to your company itself then, people do say that innovation is the way through in times of crisis. We've already talked about the Lego Friends, where you're appealing directly to little girls. There are also, of course, risks of diversifying too much. Where do you stand on that?
No, I completely agree. And in fact, about 10 years ago, our company did face some difficulty. And I think part of the reason for that was an over-diversification that also happened too fast, so we couldn't follow suit. So we are actually now, with the launch of Lego Friends, quite focused over the next few years to make that a success. I think we can diversify a little bit every 3 to 5 years, but we need to do it really cautiously in order not to lose focus on the core business. Because the truth is, as innovators, you're always very tempted to start something radically different and new, because you're thinking that's where, you know, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, so to speak. But the truth is, if you really nurture your own core business, you do have an opportunity to actually continue growing just by innovating and reinventing the way you run your core business. And that is particularly true when your company or brand is a real market leader on a global scale, and that is the case of the Lego Group. So we'll stay with our core business.
I mentioned in my introduction that Lego is a family business. It's now 80 years old, celebrating its birthday this year. That is quite rare for a company of this size to stay a family business for this long. Is it an advantage?
I think that has proven to be a big advantage, and it's certainly highly unusual. I've seen numerous statistics on what's the likelihood of having this kind of growth and still also remain a family business, and it's something we treasure very much. I think also it has had its difficulty. It's not a unique recipe for success, but it allows us to have certain values about the long-term future, such as really investing in wind turbine generation so we can base ourselves on renewable energy. I think it also allows us to have very strong value base within the company. The family that owns the company is very visible and really emphasis doing what's right for the long term, for the children and for our customers and for the employees. And we don't have to report back to any external shareholder every 4 months or 3 months and worry about short-term earnings in the same way. So I do think authenticity, reputation, long-term innovation benefits from family ownership. And then it's just necessary to have strong risk management, strong governance. So it's not a sort of aristocratically run company, but a company that's based on a meritocracy where it's the most qualified people who get the most difficult jobs.
Okay, well, just one quick question before we end the interview then. Is it also the most qualified person in building Lego models? I understand the tallest ever real building made out of Lego was built here in France, at nearly 8 meters high. Have you ever reached anything that good? Is that a qualification for leading Lego?
Yeah, well, I think it is a qualification for leading Lego that you build a lot and you enjoy the building activity. I mean, it's hard. If you don't enjoy playing with the product, then I don't think you can be part of the management.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much for your time, Jørgen Vig Knudstorp, speaking to us there from Billund in Denmark. Thanks for being with us here on the France 24 interview. We'll leave Jørgen to go off and play with some Lego perhaps now. That's it from us. Do stay tuned to France 24. We'll be back next time with another business interview.